When a show gets popular enough, spin-offs feel like they're inevitable. Frasier from Cheers, Better Call Saul from Breaking Bad, Saved by Bell, The College Years. Okay, some of them weren't great, but still, if something works and the original is just going to end, why not try to keep a good thing going? And for an absolute cultural juggernaut like The Office, spin-offs were bound to be pitched. I mean, even Parks and Rec was originally being conceived of as just a spin-off, and thank God they decided to do their own thing. Although you can definitely see the fingerprints of what the show originally was in the early series, where they did full-on character interviews like they're in a mockumentary. And while Parks and Rec wasn't technically a spin-off, The Office did kick around the idea of an official spin-off with the backdoor pilot. Season 9, Episode 17, The Farm. An episode that took a look at Dwight's family and life outside of Dunder Mifflin as he, his sister, brother, and nephew take over a huge farm that they've inherited. It wasn't a great episode and unsurprisingly wasn't picked up as a series. So with no official spin-offs, the series wrapped for the final time in 2013. Most of the main characters got happy endings. Really, it's everyone but Creed, who, of course, gets arrested. Michael is happy with his wife and kids in Colorado. Jim and Pam leave Dunder Mifflin to pursue Jim's startup that's been taking off. Dwight and Angela are married and happy, with Dwight working as the Scranton branch's manager. Kevin gets fired, which is a bummer, but also he was almost certainly embezzling from the company and now co-owns a bar. And Stanley, well, Stanley gets everything he ever wanted. He retires to Florida and whittles wood all day. That's not a euphemism, but knowing Florida Stanley, it probably also should be. That's where the show sat. For many years, fans of The Office just had to accept that, aside from maybe a rogue reunion somewhere down the line, this was the last time we'd see these characters. Until it wasn't. The year was 2020. The entire world was basically up in flames. The Office was still on Netflix, but that countdown was well underway as well. In just a few months, fans would have to pay for an additional streaming service to watch what had become, for many, their comfort show. It was in the midst of all this that we were given hope. A brand new spin-off of The Office. Kind of. It actually can't technically be a spin-off. We'll get more into that in a bit. In July of 2020, a brand new Kickstarter was launched. A Kickstarter for a pilot that was following Stanley of all people. Here's exactly how it's described on its Kickstarter page. After enjoying his retirement in Florida, carving wood, enjoying the white sand beaches, and dancing to old disco, Uncle Stan, Leslie David Baker, gets a call from his nephew Lucky in Los Angeles, asking for help with his 2 kids and running his motorcycle/flower shop. With his business failing, his kids growing up without enough attention, and on the brink of losing his patience with the cast of characters he has working in the shop, Lucky is going to need all the help he can get from no-nonsense Uncle Stan. This Kickstarter, unlike most, actually got a good bit of traction, and pretty quickly they were able to reach their goal of $300,000 to produce their pilot. In fact, they actually got nearly $50,000 more than what they were aiming for, the bulk coming from GoFundMe, but they did also have an Indiegogo that also raised about $10,000. But this pilot, as of the time I'm writing this script, has not been shown yet. It hasn't even been produced. This has raised a lot of questions from both backers and just general fans. For reference, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which hadn't been greenlit or approved around roughly of April of 2020, was written, filmed, edited, and released by April of 2022. Yes, they most likely had a good bit of this written beforehand, but it's still a good reference point. So let's take a look at what exactly was promised on this Kickstarter and what information they have available. If you were to hop onto this Kickstarter page, you're immediately greeted by the intro video, which is just Leslie David Baker talking to the camera, talking about leaving his retirement in Florida to help his nephew run a motorcycle/flower shop. Common for these types of sites, donations come with particular kickbacks, and all that standard fare is here. But as your donation level increases, the more peculiar the deliverables become. For just $1, you get a special thank you on their website, which, as far as I can find, does not exist, and according to the Wayback Machine, has only ever redirected back to the Kickstarter page, and periodic email updates. From what I've been able to find online and heard from a few people who've actually backed this project, Update emails have been scarce. Gus Johnson, who donated $10,000, we'll get to that tier here shortly, had apparently only received one email from the show for its first year. For $5, you get an MP3 of the show's theme song, when that's eventually a thing. Good old MP3s. We'll load them up on our iPod Nanos and listen to them behind the skull after 4th period. For $10, you get exclusive behind-the-scenes access throughout production and a digital copy of the script. For $15, you get a Pretzel Day exclusive collector's pin, a digital download of the episode, and some phone backgrounds. For $20, you get all that same stuff, but not the Pretzel Day pin. For $25, you get a thank you video or Leslie David Baker to follow you on Instagram, or shout out on his Instagram, or a signed poster of an exclusive t-shirt. For $30, you get into a virtual Q&A. For $35, you get a signed poster. I'm guessing it's different from the one for $25, or one of a few other posters. Okay, look, there are a lot of slightly different tiers. I'm less than even a quarter through them, and they're only going up by like $5 at this point, so I'll just hit on some of the bigger ones, or benchmarks, or whatever you want to call them. When we get up to $100, you get a signed Funko Pop, or a personal call from Leslie David Baker, or just a randomly signed personal object of yours. For $125, you can either join a live Q&A and eat a pretzel with Stanley, or go to a barbecue with him in the cast. Which, like, why would you choose the pretzel in Q&A? Just ask them questions at the barbecue and also get barbecue. For $200, you can get a personal phone call from Leslie David Baker, which was also a reward you would have gotten for $100 less, but you can also get a hard copy of the script. For $500, you could get into a personal Zoom call with LDB. I'm shortening Leslie David Baker, it's getting a bit repetitive, for 10 minutes with up to 5 friends. Or for $500, you could get 2 tickets to the pilot's premiere. Travel, obviously not included. For $1,000, you could be an extra on the show. For $3,500, you could have your original song in the show. That's, something. For $5,000, you can be a writer for the show, which is a great way to make sure that this thing doesn't get picked up, if that's the ultimate goal. Most people aren't good writers or funny. Just look at me.
Ooh, self-burn. Those are rare.
For $7,500, you can get a speaking role on the show, which is the same problem as the writing role except with acting. And finally, the granddaddy of them all. For $10,000, you can perform your talent on the show, something that only Gus Johnson has taken advantage of. I've reached out to Gus Johnson, but obviously he hasn't gotten back to me. So a lot of these are pretty repetitive. There's 5 different kinds of posters on different tiers, several different phone calls, a ton of digital assets, and several things that are just objectively bad ideas. It took a long time for a lot of these rewards to be fulfilled, and some, as we'll get into, haven't. I spoke to one backer on Reddit who says they bought the $200 signed Funko Pop package. This person eventually messaged Sardar Khan, the Kickstarter runner, and did manage to get some of their money back. $100, and also a signed Funko Pop. They were then removed from the Kickstarter. According to them, there were quite a lot of people openly commenting on the Kickstarter that they haven't gotten anything or only 1 or 2 items. The whole thing was just a mess. Even without having full access to the Kickstarter, it certainly looks that way. Just look at the updates. November 25th, 2020. Update regarding order/perk fulfillment. December 22nd, 2020. Uncle Stan reward fulfillment update. February 8th, 2021, reward fulfillment has started. March 23rd, 2021, reward fulfillment has started. Here's what to expect in the next few weeks. April 28th, 2021, Uncle Stan reward fulfillment has started. Updated information. Please read and answer everything that applies to you and your reward. Thank you. Parentheses, this was the email/message/update you were supposed to receive today. March 1st, 2022. Uncle Stan family, we are excited to announce that we will be commencing pre-production and finishing up reward fulfillment very soon. Now that COVID restrictions are being lifted in California, regular updates will also be starting back up as of today, July 18th, 2022. Quick update regarding the last of your rewards and upcoming production email updates. July 18th, 2022. Quick update regarding the last of your rewards and upcoming production update emails. About a year and a half of, yep, rewards are coming, which is absolutely unprofessional. And that's kind of what this whole thing reeks of. If you go into the comments on this Kickstarter page, people are still complaining that they've not received update emails or their backer rewards. Let's look at the rest of the Kickstarter. There's a lot of little bits of art here and there and not really a ton of details. We can see where they excel, with excel spelled wrong. We get glimpses of the motorcycle shop they're going to use to film the actual pilot. There's also the facts section where they just kind of scream answers at you. That's the main page of the Kickstarter. Updates were infrequent, sometimes going like a year without hearing anything before a barrage of email updates would come through. Almost like they forgot about production and nearly $350,000 they raised before going, crap, we still need to do that. So let's talk about the actual production of the show. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so the pilot has been in pre-production for the last 2 years, which is a really long time, like an absurdly long time. But to be fair, they did start this project in the midst of a global pandemic. The entire world was basically up in flames and they would have been unable to film for a time. But filming restrictions in LA have eased up a good bit in the last few years. And according to the website updates, pre-production was going to begin in March of 2022. Except Leslie David Baker has stated in a Reddit AMA that pre-production actually began back in 2021. So it's anyone's guess as to where pre-production actually is. So what exactly is pre-production? Well, to greatly simplify it, it's all of the steps before the actual filming of a media project. Casting, location scouting, budget allocation, storyboarding, and organizing a shot list, permits and insurance, and a ton more. It sounds like a lot because it is. The more work you do in pre-production, the smoother and faster production and post can typically go. So let's say they started in April of 2022. It's been 7 months since then. An indie movie can usually get away with like 3 months of pre-production. This has been a long time, especially when we look at the previous year and a half that they could have been planning all of this out. And it's not like LDB has just been sitting around either in fear of the pandemic. He's been doing conventions, the grossest place a person can go. Also, I'll be at the Reunion Office Fan Convention in Chicago, April 22nd and 23rd. Feel free to say hi if you see me. So production has been, well, incredibly slow to seemingly non-existent. During all of this, LDB and Sardar Khan decided to work on another venture while this pilot was still in pre-production. Let's take a bit of a tangent into the Stanley Nickel. Some background. In early 2021, Reddit discovered that they could influence the stock market with the sheer amount of numbers they had. They, of course, went all in on GameStop. This would spill over into a few other stocks like AMC and eventually into the meme coin Dogecoin. And the coin seemed to have a ton of momentum going forward until Elon Musk went onto SNL and the whole thing kind of crashed, sort of like Twitter. While meme coins have definitely been around, the absolute huge surge in the price of Dogecoin led to an influx of new meme coins. And because society is a bunch of people trying to get rich quick, rug pulls. Amidst all this, a new office-themed meme coin was created, the Stanley Nickel, a reference to one of his lines from the show. They teamed up with Rocket Bunny, and from what I read, a bit of the profits from the coin would actually be going to the Actors Fund, which was crucial to helping out-of-work entertainers during the pandemic. The article specifically talking about this has since been deleted by the author, not to mention that the official nickel.io website is currently down, and I can't currently find a way to either buy or sell this crypto. Not to mention the absolutely disastrous downfall of NFTs and crypto as a whole, to be honest, over the last few years. But these avenues have seemingly collapsed in on themselves. At their highest point ever, a Stanley Nickel was worth around 47 cents. Now it's closer to 0.03 cents, if you're actually able to sell it or find someone who even wants to buy it. I mean, if this website is accurate, the last transfer of Stanley Nickels took place in May of 2022. This venture was tweeted out and put on Instagram and everything by LDB. That's even the last tweets on LDB's Twitter. It's mainly been inactive since then. Actually, you know what? Let's take a look at one of these relatively recent tweets. Here's one linking to a Stanley Nickel telegram. On here, there's only 2 posts. One of them coming from Stanley Nickel itself saying to check out the new link. Let's click on that and, Now, eagle-eyed, eagle-eared, bat-eared? Attentive viewers may have heard a name pop up a few times throughout this video, Sardar Khan. He's the creator of the Kickstarter, and surprise surprise, he's going to co-star in the pilot as Stan's nephew. But from what I've seen across the web, Sardar is something of an unknown. Who exactly is this guy that no one seems to know who's creating and co-starring in a show with Leslie David Baker? Strangely, this kind of goes all the way back to Tupac, at least according to him. I've really only found a couple of instances of him having anything to do with Tupac. An audio clip of him mentioning the Have-Nots, the rap group he was supposedly in with Tupac, a record of Sardar Khan and Yaki Gaddafi's mother selling one of Tupac's vehicles, as well as being mentioned in a With Gratitude section of the book Spirit of an Outlaw. I'm not doubting that he was in the group and had a deeply personal relationship with Tupac. He probably did. I just find it weird there's no actual evidence online that this existed. So then, in the early 2010s, Sardar decided to try and kickstart his music career back up. Or at all, I guess. He actually put out a music video with, holy shit, is that Snoop? Yeah, he did a song with Snoop Dogg, which either adds to the legitimacy of his Tupac claims or he threw a lot of money at him. He was going under the name Candyman187, a name given to him by Tupac. Something I do want to talk about that I find really strange is this video's view to comment ratio. It's really bad. I'm sure it's difficult to compare music videos to non-music videos, but this really jumped out to me. Usually when you see this amount of views with this few amount of comments, it usually means one of two things. Either the video was served as an ad, or this video was view-botted. Though it could absolutely be that having Snoop in the video brought in a good bit of viewers who just didn't comment. There's really no way to say, and that last thing is probably what happened. Just a rogue thought I had while researching this video. So I'm not really sure how exactly these two met, but their professional relationship goes back to at least 2017. That's the earliest I've been able to find of these two together on Sardar's Instagram. But he's also seemingly taken over or created Leslie David Baker's website, which, doesn't work super well. Most of the links here don't take you anywhere, and the second Instagram link seems excessive. But if you click on the About section that takes you to the blog, which is covered in what I'm assuming is stock images, there are several posts that all read, create a blog post subtitle that summarizes your post in a few short, punchy sentences and entices your audience to continue reading. Yeah, this Wix website, yes, it's a Wix website, if you click F12 and go through the code, Wix is all over it, still has the actual basic blog post that would come with the widget or web page being added. They couldn't be bothered to change it, but let the website go live. Again, this is the official website of a professional actor. Half the links don't work, it has the bog standard blog post still live, but don't worry, the shop works. Sardar may have also had something to do with the Stanley Nickel and LDB's venture into crypto and NFTs. Looking through Sardar's Reddit profile, he was pretty active in the Wall Street Bets subreddit, with him at one point commenting, quote, I have a close relationship with a few major celebrities and influencers. Let me know how I may be able to help use that to our advantage. And if we release a statement, I can have a lot of them share it on their social media and other platforms as well. This is personal and war has just started, which I'll just let that speak for itself. But my favorite post from his Reddit account is actually the very first one. It's a post from the day he actually created this Reddit account, which seems to imply that it's actually why this account was created. June 7th, 2020, about a month before the Kickstarter launched, on the Reddit Writes the Office subreddit. I'm working on creating an Office spin-off series based on Stanley Hudson. Thoughts, ideas, suggestions? Cheers-Frasier. Hey all!
Scott here.
So I've got a very real opportunity to help create an Office spin-off series based on Stanley Hudson and a new cast of characters. We've had a few writers and people come up with ideas and scripts, but nothing has been the one yet. I've always been a huge fan of the Reddit community. I would love to involve all of you in it, plus it makes it more fun and authentic. I look forward to seeing your replies. Thank you. And looking further into this Reddit account, it just kind of devolves into yelling at people who called him out for taking advantage of LDB. Quote, Go listen to his official statement, numbnuts. He's my brother and business partner. Why would I try to use his fame and post on his account when I could just ask him to make a post for me? Stop throwing dirt on my name, because clearly you didn't think this one through. And this is also just a personal thought with really nothing to back it up. This probably isn't his main Reddit account. He has like 9 different YouTube accounts and like several different aliases like Candyman. So it's really unlikely this is his first and only Reddit account. Finally, let's talk about what's gonna happen with the show. Because yes, it likely will happen at some point. Not just because I'm likely facing down both a defamation lawsuit and a cease and desist if I say that it isn't, but because they'll also probably be facing down lawsuits if they don't. We've talked a few times, especially right off the bat and even in this video's title, that this project is a spin-off of The Office. That's not technically true. It can't be. Leslie David Baker doesn't own the rights to the character he played in The Office. So while he can play Uncle Stan, a retired salesman who may have worked in paper, just left retirement in Florida, is from Pennsylvania, and loves pretzels, he likely won't be Stanley Hudson. At least not in the technical sense. And what does a show starring Stanley even look like? Would it really even work? I kind of have my doubts. There are some characters who I think just work better as side characters, and from what I've seen with Stanley, that seems like the position where his character works best. He's not the main character in a lot of episodes, and he's just straight up unconscious for one of them. That doesn't mean that if this pilot does eventually come, that it'll be bad. I mean, I do think it probably will be, because they're offering to let anyone who donates enough money to it be a writer or actor, but that doesn't mean it has to be. They just need to do a lot of characterization for Stanley, Uncle Stan, outside of what we generally expect for the character. I reached out to Leslie David Baker a few times when I was researching and writing and editing this video, very plainly stating that I was working on a video about Uncle Stan, and this would be a great opportunity to answer some questions fans might have and raise some more awareness that this is a thing. Surprisingly, he did actually get back to me, at first agreeing to do the interview and saying that they were finalizing the teaser and I would have that to use as well. This was back in August of 2022. I followed up a few times, was told to send an email, and subsequently haven't heard a thing. I'm including this in the video just for full transparency's sake. Because LDB or Sardar, I would still love to do an interview, to talk with you, address some of these concerns, and set things right for a lot of people who seem to have come to the conclusion that this whole thing is a scam. Honestly, I'm looking forward to watching and reviewing this whenever it does eventually come out. But anyways, this has been 10K Bill, and thanks for watching. Comment down below what you'd like to hear me talk about next. Support us on our Patreon if you like this content and want to see more like it. And of course, make sure you subscribe for all your entertainment related content.